Hi, I am Amy Baez, pediatric occupational therapist and founder of Playapy, here to provide you with some playful solutions and powerful results. Today, I'm doing an interview with Gabi Garcia. She is a mama, licensed professional counselor, and the author of several children's books. Her books really help children to understand and have compassion for themselves and their emotions. And that's how I got to know her. And I'm really excited to meet her for the first time and to introduce her to all of you. I really want to ask her some questions that are going to provide you some helpful information around the topic of mental health and our children's emotions. So let's meet her right now. Hello, Gabby.
Hi, good to be here.
Thank you. I'm so excited to meet you. I've been a fan of your books. I have one right here, my introduction to you. So I wanted to talk to you today. So I just introduced my audience to you, but I want you, if you can, first, I'm not sure how many of them are familiar with the difference between a counselor and a therapist. So I wanted you to just start off there so that we're on the same page.
Well, I'm licensed as a therapist, but I worked in a school setting, so it was counseling. I tend to think of it. I mean, obviously, if you're in therapy, you are doing more in-depth work with a client, whether that's a child or an adult. In a school setting, a lot of the work is helping kids develop skills, coping skills to manage whatever is going on for them.
Nice. So I know that you went back to school to get a master's in educational psychology based on your bio. Can you tell me a little bit about what made you choose to work with children? Why did you feel guided in that direction?
Um, well, I was an educator prior to that, so I was already in the public schools. I was a bilingual teacher, and I think what I realized is that there weren't many services available for Spanish speaking students and their families.
Mm.
The communities that I was working in were primarily Latinx, and the counselors or any of the service providers were all usually um, uh, English speakers, not bilingual, and so I wanted to go back. I was also really interested in you know, well-being, children's mental health. Again, as a teacher, I was able to see a lot of what was going on for students, and so I wanted um, to just be able to provide some support in those areas.
Wonderful. I didn't plan on asking you this question, but now that you brought it up, I'm just wondering if you feel like the Latino culture has any sort of barriers to expressing emotion. And do you feel like there's a difference in the families versus other cultures, or is it pretty much the same for everybody?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I'm not going to generalize that. I think that's a really hard one to answer. I could say from personal experience, um, that was definitely something that happened in my family. I think it just expressing your emotions. I don't know if it was more out of a lack of teaching or modeling for my parents from their parents, or whether it was just more of a cultural phenomenon. Um, but I think just more broadly speaking, I think you know talking about feelings um, can be perceived negatively across the board sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, since you're working with children in schools, I feel like there's often these red flags that parents may not be aware of. I'm not sure. I'm sure maybe in your in your experience that you maybe come across them or know them well, are there specific things that might be a red flag to know that a child is in need of counseling?
I think if parents notice changes in their child, parents are gonna know them know them best, right? And so if they start to notice, for example, just a change in habits, um, a change in maybe the way that they're expressing themselves, maybe they're more withdrawn, um, not enjoying things that they used to enjoy in the past, um, shutting down maybe a little bit more, or at the other end, like having really big responses to small issues that perhaps in the past wouldn't have been, a big deal to them.
Yeah, I feel like the big ones are the ones that get a lot of attention. And then that's when parents are usually like seeking help, because those are the ones where people are starting to say, like, hey, we need to solve this problem. I feel
Mhm.
like sometimes the kids who kind of shut down may go unnoticed at times. But those big emotions, they get a lot of
They get
attention.
that tension.
Yeah, and then they start seeking out, some more resources. So you are a children's book author. I think I lost count. How many books do you have now?
I have 8 books. I
Yeah.
released a couple of books here
Wow, that's
this past month.
amazing. Those are my goals. So your books often revolve around emotions and understanding emotions. And I was introduced by listening to my body, which I have here. So can you tell me a little bit about why you wanted to go into book writing?
Um, well, I've always loved books. I enjoy reading. I enjoyed writing, but I don't think I ever necessarily saw myself as writing books for kids, or I hadn't put all of those pieces together. And at a point, maybe I don't know, 11 years ago now, around that time, I was also doing a lot of my own personal practice in yoga and mindfulness, and then professionally doing training around somatic experiencing, just learning body awareness. And it was something that really resonated with me, and a tool that I wanted to share with the students that I was working with at the time. And I know that right now there are a lot of books that focus more on maybe mindfulness or somatic awareness, but really at that point, I couldn't find what I was looking for. And so at the time, I wrote the first draft of listening to my body, and I did the illustrations. I just went to the Kinko's or something and had it printed up, and I found it and I started using it with kids, and um, and showing it to other counselor friends and other people, and I saw that it resonated. And so that was sort of my first push into writing children's books, just the idea that maybe I have something to say, or I have a perspective that I can share that might be of value.
Yeah, nice. It's like you kind of like prototyped it and tested it out and saw the
Mhm.
benefit. I understand that. I did a similar thing with my handwriting workbooks. So I what I really like about the books is that they address play. And I feel like it takes like a playful approach to these strategies that you talk about in the book. Can you tell us why that's important?
Well, I mean, play is the language that kids speak, right? That is their language. And um, it's one thing to explain something to a child, or even to an adult, but if they're able to experience it themselves. So I try to incorporate, and especially in that book, there are a lot of experiential practices, so that it's not just that they're hearing something, but that they're actually putting it into play. They're putting it into place and they're
Mm.
experiencing it in real time with the book, right? So
Yeah,
that they're really able to internalize it.
And I feel like it really crosses into to different age ranges as well when you do that. Because it's, kids any age like to play, right? So even if it may seem, young to them, they still understand.
Mhm.
I was at a family party recently, and I saw like the older kids, they're just kind of looking for things to do, and there's a younger kid that they had never met before. That's their cousin, and they just got down on the floor and just started playing with them. So it's just like they can easily go back into that play mode, even if they're older, and still identify with it. So wonderful. So I know that your books really talk about what a lot of people are more familiar with now, which is like self-regulation. I feel like that's still a term that some people don't fully understand, and maybe the difference between that and like emotional regulation. Can you explain what the difference might be, or at least what it is to you?
Yeah. Well, we talk about self-regulation, but really, we sort of co-regulate, right? Also, a lot. I think that piece doesn't get a lot of uh, a lot of well, a lot of time, maybe, especially
Hmm.
when we're talking with kids, because they're not little islands, right? They're usually, or a lot of times, they might be interacting with an adult. So regulating is just that ability. I like to, or one of the ways that I've learned it is, you can think about like a boat or a canoe, maybe, that's going down the river. And if you're too far to one edge or to the other, then it might be hard to navigate that canoe. But if you're staying sort of steady and in the middle, you'll be able to get through and to wherever you want to go quicker, and maybe not quicker, but maybe in a safer way. And so
Yeah.
regulating is just that ability to sort of bounce back from those highs and lows, and have the resources in place to do so, right? So regulating our emotions, we can talk about like anger. How is it that we're able to deal with anger so that it doesn't pull us up and we stay up, or pull us so far down that we stay down and can't really recover from it.
So I wanted to ask you one more question just on about mental health, because I feel like that is a topic that's becoming more and more and more acceptable to talk about. And I feel like there may be some differences between home versus school life for kids regarding mental health. And I didn't know if you had any tips to share with parents for that.
Um, well, yeah, I think you're right, that that there's definitely a difference. I see it with my own child, and I'm guessing that there are a lot of parents who maybe have seen it with their kids, who might do fine at school all day, and then maybe come home and have, uh, or maybe just have a big emotional response that they wouldn't have at home. When I notice something like that happening, I mean, the first thing I'll do is check in with them. I've check in with teachers just to see if there's anything going on. But I also think that, given the last 18 months and what kids have had to live through, we can anticipate that their mental health has been impacted in some way. And
Mhm.
so, in terms of tips, I think it's just always important to keep those lines of communication open, to be, vigilant about what your child is doing, how they're doing. Sometimes it's harder for children to talk about what they're feeling, or they don't have the language. And so, as parents, I think it's really important that we model what's going on for us. I think that can give children permission when they see that, oh, my parents, or it's okay to feel sad, or it's okay to feel disappointed, or, so just modeling all of those things, I think is just really important. Um, I think the other reason you asked me earlier about why I got into writing children's books, I've always been a fan of using books as jumping off points for different conversations. And I find that even now, one of the things that we do every night is read books. And, it's really, I think they're very useful tools. They're not always me driven. Oftentimes it'll be my daughter who will, make those connections herself. And I think that's really one of the, uh, one of the big values of having books or having conversations. It doesn't have to be books. For me, it's books, but it could be, shows, or, you know, different other media.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I love that you bring up modeling because I feel like it comes up in almost every interview I do, like no matter what the professional is, it's like modeling, 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 modeling. So yeah, there's always that
Yeah,
connection there. It's really important. So I
yeah.
wanted to ask you because I know that you have a new book, and so I wanted you to share a little bit about what's going on new with you in case others are interested.
Okay, well, I actually have two books that I
Two
released
books.
pretty simultaneously. They're part of a series, and one of them is called Amaya's Anger, and the other one is called Santiago's Sadness. And every time that I write, I'm hoping to add something of value, maybe something that's not already out there. With Amaya's Anger, one of the things it goes into is looking at anger as a secondary emotion. So,
Mm-hmm.
explaining to kids that usually when we experience anger, it's not there by itself. There are other emotions that come along with it. And with Santiago's Sadness, it's talking through what it means to unpack your feelings and allow yourself, give yourself permission to feel sadness, to feel sad.
Wonderful. And I think they're going to be great additions. I'm sure your fans are going to love them just as much as the other books. So, before I let you go, I wanted to ask you just some fun questions I like to ask
Okay.
all of my guests and just to get to know you a little bit more personally. So, these are just quick answer questions. So, what would be your guilty pleasure?
Oh, my guilty pleasure. Staying up late reading for fun. I mean, just
You
like a
feel guilty
novel.
about
Um,
that?
it's more the not being asleep, right? Like this
Got it.
that would be the guilty pleasure. But
Got
I
it. Got
think you make a point, right? Why feel guilt about doing something that you love?
it. Exactly. We wrote about your dream vacation.
My dream vacation. I love going to the beach. Beaches are my favorite. Uh,
You're welcome to Miami anytime.
oh, nice. Yes. Yes. Another one that I had in mind is Costa Rica. But I don't
Uh,
know.
it's a beautiful
Yes.
place. Do you have any hidden talent?
Hmm. Do I have any? I mean, that I joke with. Well, I used to joke with my daughter when she was younger that I could break into song about random topics just to hold her attention. When they're little, I would just make everything into a song.
My partner does that. Sometimes he'll just be singing something, and I'm like, "Where did that come from?" He's like, "Oh, you said this word." And I'm like, "Okay." It's just like word association. Do you have a favorite game or toy?
Hmm. Favorite game or toy? A favorite family game that we enjoy, and I know it's not revolutionary, but we do it all the time. We enjoy it. Is we do Uno. What else? Yeah.
I knew you were gonna say that. I feel like I'm like psychic on some level. I did a video about playing like how to teach Uno with kids who were too young for it, like how to kind of get
Uh-huh.
them ready so that they can play with their older siblings. So that
You know,
was fresh on my mind.
something else that came to mind though is hula hoops. Those are really
Oh, nice.
fun.
Cool. Yeah, I was teaching, I mentioned hula hoops in a video I did recently, and I was having my little cousin throw hoops on a chair just to kind of, it's like that's the target, the back of a
Uh-huh.
chair, like an armchair. So hula hoops are great fun. Last one. What would be your desired superpower?
Oh, gosh, my desired superpower. Um, I don't know. To my daughter and I have this conversation all the time. Is it flying or is it teleporting? Um, oh, you know, you all, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what
I
I would
think
do
you
with
want to go somewhere.
teleporting.
It seems like you want to go somewhere though.
Yes,
Either way.
yes, yes.
That works. We'll take it. So before we go, just let us know how we can follow your journey. How can people find you? What are the ways to get to see you more?
My website is gabigarciabooks.com. I'm also on Instagram at Gabi Garcia Books.
Right. And that's it. I'm really excited to have talked to you today. Thank you so much for your time. I really feel like some of these little tidbits will be helpful to people. And I'm hoping that they'll pick up some of your books because I know that I've used them with my patients and it's been really beneficial to me. I teach them about the horse lips and all kinds of things. And I know
It's a
even on
fun one.
your website you have some kind of guides like activities that I've
Mhm.
even used with some of the older kids even as recently as just this past week. So
Oh,
I
well,
really
great.
find them yeah, I really find them helpful and it's wonderful to have that resource right there. So thank you so much for your contribution and getting people started on this, journey of emotions and being okay to talk about them and having tools and resources to do so. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Okay. Did you like this video? I hope that you did. I really enjoyed talking to Gabby. I feel like she had some interesting insights to share with us, and I hope that you find this information helpful. Be sure to pick up some of her books. Like I said, I was introduced to her with her first one, Listening to My Body. I've really used it many times with children throughout the years, and I need to pick up some more of hers because she has so many. I hope you do too. Until the next video, I hope you have a playful day.